Welcome to the Trauma Therapist Podcast. My name is Guy McPherson. I interview incredible people who've dedicated their lives to helping those who've been impacted by trauma. A big thank you to our sponsors and our guests who are supporting this show. All right, folks, welcome back to the podcast. Very excited to have as my guest today, Ashley Buckner. Ashley, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Ashley Buckner, LCSW, is the founder and CEO of Anchor and Rise Therapy and Anchor and Rise Academy, providing therapy, supervision, and consulting nationwide with licensure across more than 45 states. A master certified ART clinician, she integrates trauma-informed somatic approaches with CBT and motivational interviewing, specializing in trauma, anxiety, substance use, and complex cases. She has a background in survivor advocacy and serves on Georgia's Human Trafficking Coalition. She also consults with behavioral health organizations and is a sought-after speaker on trauma and system-level challenges. All right, Ashley, before we get going here, share with the listeners where you're from originally and where you are currently, and we'll dive in.
I'm originally from South Georgia, near the swamp, so that's where this accent is from.
Near the swamp.
And yes, all the alligators. I currently live in St. Petersburg, Florida, and love it.
All right. So how does this start for you? How do you develop this passion, this calling?
I think for me, everyone says I always wanted to help people. I didn't know how I wanted to do that. Had no clue. In fact, a master's in social work worked with my schedule, to be quite truthful. That is why I actually went in it. And my first day, I thought, people do this and they get paid for it. It's so cool. I love it. So I was very thankful to kind of stumble into that. Did a lot of things over the years, but in the last few years, really started developing a passion for trauma and seeing how it impacted every aspect of our lives. Last year, I learned about accelerated resolution therapy and took that training and all the trainings that went along with it. And it just really catapulted this love for helping people in their darkest times. And that's where I am now.
That's the quick and dirty. So not many people can say, oh, I started learning about trauma and I wanted to learn more. Or that called me. What about that specifically got you, pulled you? How?
So, I think one of the things that I have discovered is that trauma is present in so many ways. It impacts the way that we have relationships with our partners, relationships that we have with our friends, the way we parent. It impacts the way that we sometimes get illnesses, recover from illnesses, how we go to work. So it's touching so many pieces, and I just think that so many times it's not looked at. So this idea of, instead of what is wrong with you, what happened to you, is so impactful. And I think if people started listening with that lens, we might get a little farther. We might see a lot more change in people.
When you started seeing that or recognizing that or learning about that, was there any sense of, because let's face it, trauma is hard to hear about, to learn about,
Absolutely.
To look at, to see. But yet something about it intrigued you. I mean, aside from the fact that, yes, it's prevalent in everything, personally, what enabled you to do that?
I think everyone comes with their own lens of trauma, and I'm no exception to that. I had a lot of trauma, some as a child, some I created with my own unhealthy patterns as an adult. But what I realized is that people were going to therapy and they were working on one thing. They may be working on their anxiety or how they communicate. And please know that those things are wonderful. But I would have my clients saying something else is wrong with me. Now what do I do? Now where do I go? And so I look at a lot of treatment programs and think that they fix one thing and then we refer to someone else. But I wonder what would happen if we actually got to the root of it and again said, what happened to you? What if that was a start for not only understanding
Ashley,
people?
I'm gonna stop you right there.
Yes.
Listen, you touched upon your own story.
Yes.
I want to hear that.
Okay.
This is what this is about.
Okay.
We all know everything else, but this is for you.
Yeah.
People, their listeners want to know about you because obviously you're a strong woman. Obviously you're passionate about what you do. I want to find out how you got here. To the extent that you feel comfortable sharing.
Absolutely.
What went on for you?
Absolutely. I think I had parents that also had trauma, and they did the best that they could, but they suffered with addiction and mental health concerns, and that was not a good space growing up. And I was actually telling my daughter, who's an adult now, I was telling her the other day, I went through these phases of my life. I went through this phase of I was always afraid of everything. Due to religious reasons and my family reasons, I was fearful of everything. So I was the perfect child, truly. I joked with her that I need her to take some lessons on that. But I was doing all the right things because I was scared to do anything wrong. And then I got to a point where I got very depressed because I thought I can't do everything right. It was a lot of weight for a little kid to carry.
How old were you at that point?
When I started getting depressed, probably about 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I went through a lot, like emotionally trying to figure this out. We rationalize these things. And again, perfect student. I really applied myself. I didn't break the rules, never broke the rules. And then I started getting angry. When I was 13, I just started getting angry. Like, you're the adult here. What are you doing? And not just angry at my parents, but honestly other adults that I felt like saw things and didn't help me. And so I just became pretty mad. And I went through anger for just a little bit. I kind of felt like it was all the stages of grief because I was grieving the movie version of my life, even as a little kid, because my reality version looked very, very different. And then I got over my anger a little bit, and I thought, okay, your way out is education. That's your way out. And in my mind, I just needed a master's degree. I didn't know what that did for me, but in my head, if I have a master's degree, I don't live in poverty, and I don't have abuse, and I don't have drug and alcohol around me. I don't have mental health concerns. This is my ticket, kind of my golden ticket. And so I really
You imagined that would be
I
your
did.
goal.
I
Okay.
thought that was my golden ticket. And so that's what I pushed for. It was all about the grades, and it was, and I got married really young, very young, and had my daughter. I was 19 when I got married. And we had our daughter. I was about to turn 22 years old. I was very young. And I had no idea who I was, no idea how to have a functioning, healthy relationship. And that ended. It ended about 8 years after we got married. And then that was a whole other trauma because divorce is the death of a dream. It's absolutely that. And we are fine now. He and I, we function well, and we have raised this fabulous adult child, and he and his wife have a wonderful family as well, and I'm involved in their life. A lot of healing came when I realized that I could not fix other people, that I had to fix myself.
How did you realize that?
When you look back and you have relationship failures, and I don't just mean one, but these multiple or regrets that you have of things you may have said or things you have done or things you didn't say or do. Because again, you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to create chaos. I'm actually writing a book right now. It's called Are You Motivated or Are You Traumatized? And it really discusses my path of feeling that I had to be perfect. That it wasn't enough to, like when I decided to start running, I didn't run a 5K. I ran a 50K. That was my goal. I didn't know how to do things in a small way. I felt like I was always proving myself. And I started seeing that, and then I got into my 40s and thought, this is exhausting. And I'm never reaching the bar because I'm always moving it to another point and another point.
You felt you needed to prove yourself because why?
Because
That would protect you.
I thought it would protect me. If I was good enough, then I would not get in trouble by my parents. They wouldn't use drugs or alcohol. There wouldn't be physical abuse. There wouldn't be emotional abuse. If you did the right things, none of those things happened. Which as an adult, I know is incorrect. But as a child, I thought if I could control everything, I could keep myself safe. And I knew as an adult that wasn't the case.
At what point, Ashley, and I appreciate you sharing this, what you shared already, I appreciate that. At what Was there ever a point where, as a younger person, you felt you needed help? You needed to see a therapist, or
Yes, when I was 12, I would get so nervous I would faint. And I remember that. It would just, and I kind of joke, it was like the fainting goat, but really it was reality. To have that much anxiety that your body says, I'm done.
peace out?
Just bye.
Wow.
I realized that at 12 that started happening. And that happened for maybe a year. And we were a very religious family. And so it was mental health was not talked about, and it was just pray about it and it will get better. And that made me angry too, because I felt like, why is this happening? Can this stop? So I don't think I even realized the impact of mental health until I was an adult. As a child, I just clung to those people that I thought were healthy. My teachers, I had my babysitters. They raised us truly, but they were wonderful people, and so I clung to those people that I thought were healthy because I did not know what mental health looked like.
So you go through high school. How are you surviving? What are you doing in addition to fainting? What are you doing to? No, I don't mean that as a joke.
No,
That obviously was some kind of a coping mechanism.
It was.
But in addition to that, how else? And perfectionism, clearly. How else
Yes.
were you coping?
That was pretty much it. It was
Okay.
perfectionism and really pushing towards this goal in my head of a master's degree. If
Did you
I
have
have to
siblings?
pass, I do. I have two younger sisters. We had very different experiences growing up due to the age gap. Yeah.
So you get into college, and I love the way you just talked about that. The psychology program that just fit your schedule.
It
Let's
did.
do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I stayed local because again my entire life was I was married young, and it was my church. So that was my way to escape that. And that was it. That was life. I went to college. Even though I had multiple scholarships, I went to the local university and got a associate degree in business. Graduated while I was pregnant with my daughter, and then right after she was born, I went to a program. It was on campus through Savannah State University for behavior analysis. And then again, you still have to have a master's degree, right? So, in my mind. So then I was like, where do I go? And this program was 2 days a week, and it was 2 hours away. So I could work full time and take care of my family and my daughter. And then I could drive 2 days a week to go do this program. And I remember even on the first day, a family member said, what kind of mother leaves their child to go to school? And I thought, the one that doesn't want to be stuck, the one that wants to break some of this. And so I went to school, and thankfully it was something that I loved, but I had no clue what a social worker did. And then I realized this path was for me. I have a tattoo that says amor fati, so love your fate. So either things that happen are for your good, or things that are bad happen and they will turn into good. They will teach you some good in your life. So I'm a big believer in that and always have been. And thankfully that path has not steered me wrong. But I was working on, I was going to say, I was working on people's mental health long before I worked on mine, though, embarrassingly.
Well, that's the way it goes for a lot of us.
Yes.
At what point did you start realizing you needed to, quote unquote, work on your own?
Probably fully when I was, not until my 30s, not until my mid 30s, not until I had a long string of hurts and sadnesses and what ifs and coulda, shoulda, wouldas. Then I thought, maybe there's a common denominator. Maybe you need to look at what you're doing. And I realized that I needed some help, and I got that. Yeah.
In the form of what?
I did traditional therapy for a while, but the game changer for me truly came last year when I took accelerated resolution therapy. I was burned out with social work, burned out with life, period, and I went through a very bad time in my life with my daughter's health, and it shook me and shook my entire foundation of what I knew. And so I didn't want to be a therapist anymore, and I didn't want to talk to people, and I was just mad all the time. So I took this training thinking someone might use it, maybe it'll revamp my therapy practice. And as all good trainings are, it was therapists working on each other. And all of a sudden, in one session, something I'd worked on for 10 years went away. And it was because they removed the physical sensations in my body, and it started making me think, gosh, trauma shows up in a lot of ways. And for me, it had shown up in a lot of the physical and the somatic symptoms that I had.
For our listeners, if you don't mind, kind of giving us the nutshell of what accelerated resolution
Absolutely.
therapy is.
It's this idea, it uses eye movements to work on trauma. And so what it says is that when trauma happens, that your body holds that in some way. And that's why you get the lump in your throat or the tightness in your chest or the butterflies in your stomach. So what if you were able to think about a situation and you were able to remove those icky feelings that you have in your body, and the trauma, you still know that it happened, you still remember it fully, but it doesn't have the physical impact on you anymore. That's the basis of the therapy. Game changer for me. I speak about it all across the world at different conferences, and it has changed my life personally and professionally. I look at...
Okay, go take a step back. You
Yeah.
said when you did that, when you took that course or workshop, something changed for you. Take us there. What happened?
Immediately.
What happened?
So this is going to sound nuts, but it is my story. My daughter has epilepsy, and when the thing that I'm the most proud of in my entire life is being a mother. My past taught me how to be a good parent, unintentionally, but it did. So when she would have her seizures, I couldn't do anything about them. I would stand in the corner and just scream, truly frozen. And the last set that she had, her doctor said, if you would have given her rescue medication, this would have stopped. And they were not being ugly. They were just being truthful. But I thought, I have to do something about this. And I had talked to the best therapist, and I still couldn't move in the moment. So I did one session of accelerated resolution therapy. And all of a sudden, I wasn't frozen anymore. I could see that happening in my mind and knew exactly what I was going to do. And it changed my entire life. I think it changed my family, to be honest. And so after that, I thought, maybe I should work on some other stuff. Maybe I should work on all this past stuff. And crazy story, it felt like my body was on fire. And I could feel it moving up. I knew it was anger. And it was so calm and peaceful, which I didn't expect. The heat gets all the way to the top, and it was like, phew, little bubble. The smallest of bubbles. And all of a sudden, I didn't feel angry anymore. And for me, it's just been a change.
What was happening with the accelerated resolution therapy? I'm not.
So what was happening is so it uses voluntary image replacement and removes the somatic symptoms in your body. So all of a sudden, I wasn't frozen anymore. That's this. I didn't get the knot in my stomach and tightness in my chest. So it removed that. And in addition to that, I actually could picture myself giving her medication, which I had never been able to do in therapy before. And all of a sudden, I could be the mom I wanted to be. And that healed a lot of things for me, by the way.
Wow.
So it was a game changer to remove the physical symptoms. It did not take away what happened. My memory is still fully there. But I don't have that sensation in my body when I think of those things anymore.
And it removes the physical symptoms through visualization?
It's voluntary image replacement, so you're able to insert your own images there, but they use bilateral stimulation to remove. People have heard of EMDR. The difference is the amount of time. This is 1 to 5 sessions. And so it is accelerated, right? The treatment is accelerated, and in one session, all the things I had wanted to deal with for a long time, even if I talked them out through therapy, they were not gone, but with accelerated resolution therapy, they were. It really changed my life.
That's incredible. I just want to say something. You started out talking about the work you do in a general way. And when you started talking about your story, Ashley, something shifted. It's like I felt like I could feel your energy. I could feel your power. I could feel everything you've gone through, and it just feels like there's so much more weight now behind and strength behind the work you're doing. And it's
Absolutely.
clear the experiences, the childhood that you've had has been the engine behind this work you're doing.
Yes. Who knew? I wrote a list in my 20s. It was called Things They Didn't Mean to Teach Me. And it was basically about just people in my life and experiences that I'd had that, again, were not intended to be taught. They were not on the learning objectives, but I learned them anyway. And now I look back and I think, gosh, people can get help. Like, we're not stuck in this space. I had a professor that used to say, everyone tells you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but there's times you don't have shoes. I give people shoes now because someone gave me shoes. And that's a really powerful thing to me.
Someone gave you shoes.
They gave me shoes.
You walked into that situation
Just trying to get a
not
master's
knowing,
degree.
trying to get a master's, not thinking you were going to get help for
No.
yourself.
No.
Possibly this could help you somewhere down the line, maybe
Yes.
help someone else.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. And then all of a
So-
sudden I'm living my dream. And a dream I didn't even know I had. Right.
Look at you. You're like this box of like gifts that just keep opening up. How did this happen to you?
I wonder sometimes. I don't know why I don't have the same luck playing the lottery, but I feel that I've had so much luck, blessings, whatever you want to call it. In our family, we refer to them as nuggets. Like the gold miners, they would be ready to pack it up and they would find one nugget and it would keep them going. I've had nuggets throughout my life that have just carried me, and I just feel so thankful.
So, obviously, the work you're doing now with Anchor and Rise, and how did that come about? When did you get to the point where you're like, I'm going to start my own thing?
I never wanted to do that because I knew my boss would be a total jerk. I already knew they would work me way too hard. But last year when all of this stuff was happening with my daughter, I was like, I don't know what to do, but I cannot continue doing what I'm doing, which was climbing the ladder. I met, every goal I ever achieved, or every goal I ever set for myself, I was able to achieve. So last year I was just like, I don't know what to do. And for me, it was a faith thing. And I actually heard one day, you need to anchor in your strength and rise in your purpose. Well, I'm not that creative, so I listened to that. And that's our logo. We have an anchor with a starfish, and the anchor is obviously anchoring. I like Florida. That has to do with that. The starfish is from the starfish story of where the person's picking up the starfish and throwing them into the water, and someone says, you're never going to save them all. And they said, but I made a difference for that one. So it's this idea that we can make a difference in people's lives one at a time. And I had no idea what I wanted to do with Anchor and Rise Therapy, but it has grown into something beautiful. I'm licensed almost in the entire country. Hopefully I will be in the next 4 weeks. Do clinical supervision and train the next group of social workers to provide culturally competent care. I provide a lot of gender affirming care. I help people that don't have a voice. That's really what I do, and I love it.
I love talking to you because it's clear you do. When you talk to us about when someone comes into your office, what do you do? How do you quote unquote work with them? What's your process? Obviously it's different for every person, but give us a hint.
Tell me your story. I want to hear it. I'm not here to fix everything. I am here to cheerlead with you as you fix it. And I want to work with you because I want to empower people. And I don't just mean that in a general sense. I want people to leave a session with me and go, I'm about to do something great. And not because I gave that to them, but because they finally just felt the courage to say, I've got somebody backing me. So I really like going into situations and just finding out people's stories. I I say that social workers are nosy and they just get paid for it. But that's what I want to be. I want to know, tell me about what happened when you grew up, your first relationship. What do you enjoy doing? I think we leave that out a lot of times. Like, what does life look like? What did the movie version look like? What's the reality version looking like? So really being able to go in and let people decide how they want to live their lives and just empower them.
You talked about that, the movie version versus reality. What, when you were younger, what did your movie version look like?
My movie version was that I was going to be married to the same person for 70 years, and I was going to have this house and, a few children, and I was going to go to school and travel a lot and do all of these things. And my reality version's a whole lot better, but I just didn't realize that at the time. I didn't realize I had the capacity or the ability to be able to reach for them.
Ashley, when you started working with clients, what were some of the things that were maybe challenging for you?
Initially,
hang on 1 second.
No, I'm sorry.
Because I'm guessing when you started working with clients, you weren't yet, quote unquote, working on yourself or hadn't worked on yourself.
No.
Right. So I'm imagining there was maybe some challenges there. Talk to us a little bit about that.
One of the challenges was that I grew up in an area where everyone looked the same. Everyone went to the same kind of church. So I didn't have any clue about cultural diversity. When I went to Savannah State, that's an HBCU, and I'm so thankful for that lens and the things they taught me there. So I first of all started with this curiosity of cultures and that cultural humility. So I was doing great work from the book. I was doing good work straight from a book, but it hits different when it comes from your heart and from your experience. So as I started working on myself, I realized different passions I had. I connected with people in different ways. I was able to instill a hope, not because a book told me to, but because I knew it was possible. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that the efficacy depends on the therapist and their belief in it too. And I sometimes think, gosh, I wish I would have had this different lens years ago, but my story wouldn't be the same if I did. So I have it now, and now I'm coming from a different place. I've got the background, I've got the education, but I also have the experience.
Do you feel that it's challenging to be working with people who've experienced trauma?
Absolutely. Absolutely, but I also think trauma is much more prevalent than we assume. So if we go in just kind of automatically assuming that people have their stuff, and sometimes they've packed it away, and leaving a space to be able to unpack it should you want to. So I just assume everyone has trauma. Everyone I pass in Walmart, everyone that I see in my sessions, I just assume that on some level, someone has had something that has impacted them.
Your experience with the, what's the acronym, ACR?
ART.
ART.
Yes.
Was amazing. I mean, it feels like it just shifted
everything.
Everything for you.
I did. That's really my passion now. That's what I do. I see other therapies and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could do some eye movements. I'm watching TV and my family gets so annoyed because I'm like, I wonder if I could do accelerated resolution therapy on them. And they're like, stop it. But it's been that much of a miracle to me. And so, yeah, just a big game changer. You're not removing what happened, but you're just removing how your body feels about it. And that's crazy impactful.
You mentioned the book. Is that something that's going to be coming out soon? What's the process for that?
I am still in the works, but okay. Part of it is my story, and then part of it really talks about the adverse childhood experiences and the personality traits that those create in people, especially when I see high achieving women in particular. I'm proud of them. I want to be their biggest cheerleader, but I also wonder, what are we proving? What are we doing?
And finally, you mentioned the consulting you do. Who do you consult with, rather?
I actually work with a lot of companies that are nationwide or either they want to expand nationwide. And again, because I'm licensed in almost all the states and provide clinical supervision there, I can provide this continuity to be able to expand and grow with a culturally competent lens, again, really focusing on trauma and education. And so I contract with companies that have that same mindset of we want to grow bigger, but we want to do it in the right way. So those are the people I work with.
Awesome. All right, Ashley, how do people learn more about you? What's the best way?
They can absolutely contact me on my website. It's Anchor and spell it out, Rise, RISE.net. And so I would love to be able to reach out. You can catch me on LinkedIn or some of the conferences I'll be presenting at this year. So I definitely appreciate this opportunity. I'm used to talking about other people, so it was nice to kind of say
Not here, Ashley. I know you tried to get away from it, but we pulled you back.
I loved it. Thank you for the
amazing.
opportunity. Thank you, sir.
And because you're amazing. Your story's incredible, and you are so friggin' inspiring. I love it.
Thank you so
Love
much.
it. You exude this strength.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure meeting you. Love to have you back.
You as well. Thank you so much for the
All right.
opportunity. Have a great day.
Take care.